It's the Group B premiere for Season 12. It's sports night. Joel McHale and Nikki Glazer are here as commentators. There's a lot going on. Let's talk The Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my Masked Singer recap and reaction video. We are in the Group B premiere now for Season 12. We meet 5 new contestants. The Wasp, Chess Piece, Bluebell, Dust Bunny, and Goo. And one is going to be sent home. There is so much going on in this episode of The Masked Singer. So before we get to it, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. If you are one of my subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Please keep returning to the channel, and I do these Masked Singer videos, as you know, every single week. But I do a lot of other stuff on the channel as well, movie and TV wise. So if you're not one of my subscribers yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button, click that notification bell. But just like this video and comment below. That stuff not only helps the channel out, but for my Masked Singer video specifically, it helps me out. I love interacting with you guys in the comments, and I got to tell you, I really need some help here. I have, I think, one of these down, but the other 4, including the person who gets eliminated tonight, I have like no clue. I mean, I am just out in the weeds with these. So you guys have helped me kind of shape Group A a little bit. I was lost on Yvette Nicole Brown, and you guys sort of steered me in that direction before she was unmasked. But I really don't know. So definitely comments for the Masked Singer videos, because I just I don't know what's going on. All right, so let's talk about sports night. So we had Joel McHale and Nikki Glazer not only sort of introducing the episode, they introduced like a boxing ring motif where Rita Ora and Robin Thicke faced off against each other, you know, so to speak, to sing Rock You Like a Hurricane. But it wasn't just an intro. They stuck around the whole episode, and they threw to commercials and talked, you know, with the judges a little bit. So Joel McHale and Nikki Glazer, you know, obviously, look, Nikki Glazer's been on the show as a performer. Joel McHale's been on the show many, many times before. So, you know, these guys, I guess, are part of the family now of The Masked Singer. So, all right. Well, anyway, after Rock Me Like a Hurricane, they brought out the first competitor, which is the Wasp. This is the only one I think I know, by the way. So that's we'll start with a good one here. So as we did with the first week of Group A, each one gets a Masked Singer ambassador, somebody who has performed on the show and been unmasked, and they, you know, have some sort of relationship to the person. So we start with Neo, who was the cow from season 10. He said, "I have known the Wasp since he was fresh on the scene." And this is a whole like comic book theme for the clue package. We see back in action, number 2 on the comic book. He said he gained a huge success by taking my, Neo's, words of wisdom. We see his light bulb at that point go off over his head, and the bat signal, since we are, like I said, in that comic book motif. And then we throw to the Wasp, and he says, "I grew up in a tough neighborhood. There's no reason I should have made it out, but I learned to dig deep and fight." We see boxing gloves there. We see Mars at some point as well. He said, "My career turned into a hive of activity with the biggest screens and stages in the world." And he sings "Rock Your Body" by Justin Timberlake. Really, really good song choice for his voice, by the way. And the post-song clue this week was about a shoe. They brought, since it's, you know, sports themed, they brought out an athletic shoe of some sort, and then they talked about it. So here we have basketball sneakers. He said, "Fresh kicks helps me stay on my game." So the guesses from the panel were Tay Diggs, Bruno Mars. I think, was that from Jenny? She saw, you know, Mars, so she thought, could this be Bruno Mars? Probably, I don't know, still a little bit, you know, at the peak of his career to do this show. I don't think it's him. Jason Derulo was also said. That's not a bad guess. I like the Jason Derulo guess. But I have a different guess, and I think this is correct. And I actually can't believe that nobody said it, because this person has probably been guessed just about every season that The Masked Singer has been on the air. Could this be Mario? Jenny McCarthy usually is the one who guesses Mario, and missed it this time. But look, I don't know much about him, but I do know that he had a huge song when he first burst on the scene. He was still a teenager. The song was called Let Me Love You. Here's the thing. Whoever it is has to be at least younger or contemporaries with Neo, because he's saying, I've known him since he was fresh on the scene. So that's why, like, Jason Derulo is not a bad guess, but Neo wrote this big, huge #1 smash for Mario called Let Me Love You. And that was his first hit back in, I want to say 2005 maybe, so we're about 20 years deep. But he was a teenager when that song was out, so he's younger than Neo. Neo wrote the song. It was #1, like in all over the world. It was #1 in the U.S. for weeks and weeks. So I think this is Mario, and I can't believe nobody guessed it, because Jenny especially guesses it, I feel like, every single season, and she missed it this time. So that's the only one that I feel confident about for this week. So let's move on here to the chess piece. All right, and Nikki Glaser is the ambassador for the chess piece. So this is somebody that she knows. She was the Snowstorm from season 8. She says, I'm here to introduce the most fashion-forward friend I know. And we see the red carpet at that point as we throw it to the chess piece. She says, I love a fashion moment. We see a big pair of red lips at that point. At times, I felt like a pawn with no protection. People doubted me my whole life, so I had to believe in myself and make bold moves across the board. And at that point, we see a few different of the masks from over the years, including the Queen of Hearts and the Sun, Jewel and Leanne Rimes, both of who won. So I don't know if this person actually knows Jewel and Leanne Rimes and some of these other people, or if they're just all winners from the show, and she's saying, I'm going to win. But anyway, I made bold moves across the board to get this crown and that leading role that changed my game. And she sang Believe by Cher. It was an okay performance, not what I would say the best. But before we even got the shoe clue, Nick Cannon asked what she felt about being there, and she said, people have told me to stop singing my entire life. And I'm here to, prove that wrong, basically. The shoes were tennis shoes. She said, in the first round of the match, love. And of course, love is a tennis term, but also it made me think of love is love. So is this a gay performer? Is this a trans performer? So the guesses from the panel were really all over the place. Serena Williams, Regina King, I think that was Ken's, the whole chess piece motif. Regina King, I believe, can sing. And I don't know some of these other clues with her. And then Ashley Graham was from Rita. I know that name, but I'm not familiar with that person. I don't know if that's an athlete, a TikTok person. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that name before, Ashley Graham. All right, so look, I'm going a different way with this, and I don't know if I'm out in left field on this, but the only things I was thinking of by listening to The Voice and hearing some of the clues, I felt like a pawn with no protection. The love is love thing. I'm thinking that this is somebody maybe in the trans community. Nikki Glaser was a guest judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. So we've got clues about being fashion forward. I don't quite think it's RuPaul, but I'm sort of like thinking about people in that avenue. And just listening to The Voice, what about Laverne Cox? Because she says that leading role that changed my game. Obviously, Orange is the New Black was a huge game changer for Laverne Cox. And we also, had like the red carpet moment. She is, kind of known as a beautiful model type. She's been on magazine covers. I don't know. Just listening to The Voice and seeing some of these clues, I don't know what her specific connection is to Nikki Glaser. But that's the best I've got for now. I'm going to say Laverne Cox for the chess piece. All right. But again, let me know in the comments, what you think about this. All right. Bluebell was next. And before we heard the Bluebell, we threw to Joel McHale and Nikki Glazer again, and they put up little kid pictures from the panel. I thought that was really cute, and they sort of like did a little roasting about it, as they do. So that was fun. And then we went to Bluebell. Kelly Osbourne is her ambassador. She was the Ladybug. Going back to season 2. Now this is before I even was doing these videos. Season 1 and 2, I didn't do them. I just watched the show, and then I thought, well, I like talking about this show, but nobody I know really watches it. What if I did videos for it? So I started that in season 3. This was one of the most frustrating ones, Kelly Osbourne, just to go off on a small tangent, because they didn't show any clues about like British. They didn't show any like fashion clues, because she of course was the fashion maven, with Joan Rivers, and they didn't really show any like reality TV clues. It was like the worst clue package, and I think she was voted off the first week. So like, how would anybody even get any of that? So that was annoying. But anyway, back to this week. So Kelly Osbourne is the brand ambassador. She says, "My friend certainly knows about tabloid fodder, and we've even made headlines together." All right, so then we go. Oh, no, she's still talking. She says that Bluebell was an overnight success. We see her reading a script at that point, but major fame comes with major gossip. Okay, and then we go to Bluebell. She says, "The rumor mill went wild about my alleged relationships, from rock stars to billionaires and even royals. True love never bloomed until recently." We see a guitar at that point. She says, "I've never been happier, and we belong together." And we see ripped jeans at that point, but now I'm having a moment. And she sang "We Belong" from Pat Benatar. Great tune, and she did it very well. And her shoe of choice, rollerblades. She says, "I try to roll with the situation, but always rock it out." So the guesses from the panel here: Taylor Momsen from Gossip Girl, who, of course, became a very famous singer for the band Pretty Reckless, which has had a bunch of number 1 and top 10 hits on the rock charts. Ellie Goulding from Rita Ora, thinking about somebody, okay, Kelly Osbourne across the pond, who might, match up with her. That's also across the pond, Ellie Goulding, who does have a great voice. I don't hate that guess. I'm not sure about the guitar stuff and the script. I don't know about Ellie Goulding acting. And then we went back to Gossip Girl for Leighton Meester. I think Jenny McCarthy said that. And she can sing as well. We've seen that. And obviously part of Gossip Girl. Gossip was a big, big theme of this. But look, the guitar stuff, the ripped jeans, I try to roll with the situation, but I always rock it out. We're talking about a rock person here. I agree. I think it was Ken that said it. But look, Ken was right a couple times earlier this season. I think this could be Taylor Momsen from the Pretty Reckless. I think, if you don't know her, she was not only in Gossip Girl, but she's the little girl in the Jim Carrey version of The Grinch. Cindy, is it Cindy, right? Cindy Lou Who. So she's, been on the scene for a while. I can absolutely see her being friends with Kelly Osbourne because they are about the same age. They got famous right around the same time. I mean, Gossip Girl was on just about the same time the Osbournes was on TV. I don't know much about her dating life, I will admit. So, some of the rumor mill stuff about her relationships, I don't know. But the gossip stuff, and her reading a script means that she's not only a singer, but an actress. So I kind of rule Ellie Goulding out. I think this could be Taylor Momsen. Maybe Ken is right. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Again, let me know in the comments. All right, we move now to the Dust Bunny, and this is the person that has been voted out for tonight, so we'll do all the clues, and then we'll go to the Take It Off before we talk about the 5th and final performer for Group B. We have the Dust Bunny, and the brand ambassador, I think, or masked ambassador, I think is the biggest star that this show has ever had. And the fact that he returned, says, I think, just how much fun he had doing it. Dick Van Dyke. He was the gnome in season 9, and that was, my reaction to that, talk about jaw-dropping. That was insane, because who would expect such an iconic superstar? And at the time, he was 96, I think. He's 98 now, and they just had a great 98th birthday celebration for him on CBS earlier this year. But he didn't say much at the beginning. He just says, I'm here to introduce my pal. So this is somebody that he knows. All right. So the Dust Bunny says, singing's always been a great passion of mine. And we see Earthquake Zone on like a street sign. When I just got into the biz, I was making coffee. and then was asked at rehearsal to stand in for lighting. And it turns out I had a face for TV. We see a checkered flag. We see a mask, but it's like a Michael Myers Halloween type mask. Not like the comedy tragedy. It's definitely more, I think, Michael Myers type of mask. Since then, I've had quite a lot of co-stars, including Anne Hathaway, David Bowie, and Marlon Brando, though no one's ever seen that footage of Marlon Brando. So that's an interesting note. And then Dick Van Dyke, we flash back to him, and he even says, well, you forgot about the best co-star of all of yours, me. So somebody that's acted with Dick Van Dyke. And he sang Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. And I kind of sensed he might go home because, it was not the greatest performance, but he certainly sang his heart out. He tried. And for the shoe, we had ice skates. And he says, I'm going to burn through this competition in a blaze of glory. So the guesses from the panel. Well, you know what? I'll just go to the end because they retained their guesses from earlier in the show. So at the end, here are the guesses from the panel. Going off of the checkered flag thing, a lot of people were going Talladega Nights with it. So Ken thought it might be Will Ferrell. Jenny said it might be his co-star in Talladega Nights, John C. Reilly. And look, John C. Reilly, I wouldn't put it past him to do this show because he does silly things like this. He had that, what was the show, Dr. Brule or whatever on Adult Swim. It was like this grainy, like old VHS looking advice show or whatever. So look, he mixes it up. He does some different things. Rita was, again, going with the checkered flag thing, going with Jay Leno. And Robin said Chevy Chase. And I don't think he even really had a reason. He had like no clue. All right, so look, I am out in the weeds on this one, but I have a few guesses. Okay, so oh boy. So I was focused, as I often am, on things like the co-stars and the fact that this person was had performed with Anne Hathaway, David Bowie. Marlon Brando I'm going to rule out because he said no one's ever seen that footage. So it's not like whatever movie Brando was in, this person was also in. But the Dick Van Dyke thing stuck with me. I'm thinking, okay, we've got Dick Van Dyke. We've got the checkered flag could certainly be for Talladega Nights, sure. But what about somebody, Dick Van Dyke has been recently in the new Mary Poppins movie, Mary Poppins Returns, but I don't think it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, so we'll rule that one out. But Night at the Museum, he was in the first two of those movies, and you have a lot of people in those, but I wasn't really hearing the voice with any of those. So then I was like, okay, well, what has David Bowie been in? He's been in a bunch of stuff over the years. Believe it or not, obviously he's known for his singing, but he's done a lot of acting as well. So I couldn't really get anywhere there. But then the ice skates brought me to the movie Blades of Glory. I think that is maybe the most telling clue. Now, Will Ferrell was in that movie as well. So you have Talladega Nights and Blades of Glory. I mean, it could be Will Ferrell, but then I was like, I can't. Okay, Dick Van Dyke, or not Dick Van Dyke, I'm sorry, David Bowie was in Zoolander. Will Ferrell was in Zoolander. Okay, there's a connection there. But I thought this is definitely somebody older. They're singing Sweet Caroline. This is not maybe a contemporary of Dick Van Dyke because obviously, he would have to be in his 90s. I don't think he's quite that old. But what about, and this is going to be my final guess, and this is a weird one, but he was in the movie Blades of Glory. And he definitely acted not only with Dick Van Dyke, but most famously, Dick Van Dyke's brother, Jerry Van Dyke. What if this is Craig T. Nelson from Coach? Now, the ice skates, Blades of Glory, okay, sure. Maybe we would most associate Craig T. Nelson with football cleats or something. But I think, Blades of Glory is a more under-known movie, right? But he was one of the stars of that. And the Michael Myers mask, I don't know, but he did star in Poltergeist, which is certainly a horror movie from that same era. I don't know too much else. I couldn't pick him with Anne Hathaway or David Bowie. But look, all of these people have done a lot of things. And Craig T. Nelson is old enough that, when he got into the biz, he was making coffee and then was asked to stand in for lighting and then learned that maybe he could be on TV. I mean, that seems like a story that could only be like in the 50s or 60s, right? I mean, like that's not something that would happen today. So that's my guess. I don't love it, but I have nothing else. He certainly worked with Dick Van Dyke. So there's that connection. Could this be the absolutely great Craig T. Nelson. I don't love it, but we'll see. I've stranger people have been on the show. Let's see. No, it is. Oh, and I thought of him too. Oh, it's Andy Richter. I thought of him too because he is also in Blades of Glory. Damn it. You know what? I actually went back and watched. Hold on a second. I went back and watched the singing again because I was so out in the weeds and it didn't sound like Andy Richter to me, so I passed on it. But damn it, I actually had that thought. Oh, well, this is how you know I don't look up the unmaskings before these episodes because I have no idea half the time. Man, I love Conan O'Brien. That's like my top talk show host, and Andy Richter, of course, a part of that. I couldn't think it. He said they went too high on the call sheet to guess him. That's funny. Guessing bigger stars. I love Andy Richter. Oh, Richter scale for the earthquake clue. Okay, I didn't get that.
There was the car for Talladega Nights. Yeah. There was popcorn because Conan and I used to do like reviews and
so he was in. Okay, so I'm sorry, he wasn't in Blades of Glory. He was in Talladega Nights. So the checkered flag was for Talladega Nights. Damn it. Okay, and then he said there was popcorn. I didn't recognize that. I'm curious though. Did he star with David Bowie? Bowie did do a sketch on Conan. They did like a Bowie Secrets kind of sketch. So that tracks.
I have a 4-year-old. I need to get out of the house.
Aww, he's got kids and he wanted to do the show. Okay, to get out of the house, he said. Wow.
And how much fun I had.
That's bumming me out. So I wonder if maybe the people he mentioned have done sketches on Conan. I mean, look, Andy Richter's done a lot of acting too. I mean, he had a few TV shows and boy, but I hate that I thought of him. And okay, well, I couldn't connect enough the clues to him. All right. Well, I'm what, 3 for 5 then for this season. All right. So the goo is last, and boy, I really have no clue on that. So Keenan Allen was the mass ambassador, which I barely even know who he is, but he was the gargoyle in season 9. He said that the goo has a softer, more sensitive side like me. And then we threw over to the goo, and he says, growing up, I wanted to tackle everything on my way. We see a tackle box, but of course we're thinking tackle in football maybe as well. And we see a French horn. But he says, I was sensitive, and once my brother started playing guitar, I found my escape. There were tough days at school, and I'd sit at home and cry. And then I became a music nerd, starting a cappella groups and winning awards. And then he sings Lose Control by Teddy Swims, big recent hit. And then the shoe for him was these musical cleats. So cleats with little like notes on them. And he said to focus on the sole of the shoe. But I think in his version, I think he's spelling soul, S-O-U-L, like R&B and soul. So the guesses from the panel, John Batiste. I didn't hate that guess. That was Ken's, I think. Shabuzi, who I don't really know anything about, but Robin said he was on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album. I've heard the name Shabuzi. I don't know any of the music, so I wouldn't know. And then Rita suggested it could be Khalid, who is a great recent singer. He's been out maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. But look, the problem is I don't know anything about Keenan Allen other than sports. He was like a football player. I never heard of him when he was on this show. I still have not really heard of him except for this show. So I was thinking, okay, well, who are football players that we know can sing? Because obviously this isn't just a football player that has a good voice, but, he started a cappella group. So obviously he's, music is part of his thing. The only person that really came to mind, just because I don't know that much about sports, what about Terry Crews? Now, we know his football career wasn't great. He bounced around from team to team, but he has certainly won awards in his acting career. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine maybe has won a SAG award for Best Ensemble, something like that. So I don't know. I'm so out on this one. I have no clue. If it's a sports person that is not into music as well, then I don't know. A lot of the sports people on the show, especially football players, I have no clue. So you will have to help me on this in the comments with Goo, but for now, I'll go with Terry Crews. I don't love a lot of my guesses, I'll be honest. And and I am I didn't love my Craig T. Nelson. I am bummed that Andy Richter did not come out of my mouth, but oh well, such is life. But let me know in the comments what you think of my other guesses. I think Mario is the one though for the Wasp. That to me is a home run, especially with the Neo connection. But Chess Piece, Bluebell, and Goo. I have no clue. So help me, please. And thank you so much for watching. Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time.